In every generation, human beings search for truth. Some search in science, some search in philosophy, some search in religion. But deep inside, every heart asks the same question. Why are we here? Is there a God? And if there is, has he ever revealed himself to us? For over 2,000 years, one name has stood above all others: Jesus. Loved by millions, questioned by many, rejected by some. But today, a new argument is becoming popular. You might have heard it too. People say, Jesus is just a copy. His story isn't original. He's no different from Mithras or Horus or Osiris. They were born the same way, died the same way, rose again the same way. And if that's true, then Christianity falls apart. Because if Jesus is just another myth, then faith is meaningless. But what if that claim isn't true at all? What if history tells a very different story? Imagine a young university student walking across campus one evening, head full of questions, phone in his hand. He just read an article that said, Jesus never existed. His story was copied from older religions. His heart feels confused. Because if Jesus isn't real, then everything he learned as a child was a lie. So he decides to search for answers. Not emotions, not opinions, but facts, history, evidence, truth. The next day, he meets an older teacher. Calm voice, gentle eyes, someone who doesn't argue to win, but explains to help. The student asks directly, was Jesus just another myth? Wasn't Mithras born on December 25th too? Didn't Horus rise from the dead first? The teacher smiles, not mocking, not angry, just patient. And he says something simple. Before believing claims, always check the facts. First, December 25th. Most people don't know this. The Bible never says Jesus was born on December 25th, not once. That date was chosen hundreds of years later as a church tradition. It's symbolic, not historical. So saying Jesus copied December 25th makes no sense, because Jesus never claimed that date to begin with. Already, one big argument disappears. Then comes Mithras. People online confidently say, Mithras had a virgin birth. He was crucified. He rose again. But when historians study Mithraism carefully, they discover something shocking. Those details aren't actually there. The central story of Mithras is simple. He kills a bull. That's it. That's the focus. There's no empty tomb, no crucifixion, no eyewitness resurrection. The similarities people talk about, they were added centuries later, after Christianity had already spread. So instead of Christianity copying Mithras, history suggests the opposite happened. Then what about Horus or Osiris? Yes, Egyptian myths talk about death and life, but look closer. Osiris is cut into pieces, his body scattered, later symbolically restored, and he becomes a spirit ruler in another realm. That's not a physical resurrection. It's mythology, symbolism, poetry. But Jesus? The claim is completely different. Not symbolic, not spiritual only, physical. The tomb was empty. People touched him, ate with him, walked with him, spoke with him. That's not myth language. That's eyewitness language. And here is where everything changes. Because Christianity doesn't say, once upon a time. It says, during the rule of Caesar Augustus, under Pontius Pilate, in the city of Jerusalem. These are real places, real people, real history. You can't investigate myths, but you can investigate history, and history leaves evidence. The teacher explains something powerful. The Gospels weren't written hundreds of years later. They were written in the 1st century, within decades of Jesus' life, while eyewitnesses were still alive. People who could say, no, that didn't happen. But they didn't. Instead, they confirmed it. Even more surprising, Paul wrote about Jesus' resurrection only 20 to 25 years after it happened. That's extremely early. Legends take centuries to grow, but this spread immediately, which means people truly believed they had seen something real, something life-changing. Think about it. If the disciples invented the resurrection, what did they gain? Money? No. Power? No. Comfort? No. They were beaten, imprisoned, hunted, killed, and still they never denied what they saw. Nobody dies for a lie they invented, but people will die for truth. The student listens quietly, his mind racing, because suddenly Jesus doesn't look like mythology anymore. He looks like history, and that's scarier. Because myths are easy to ignore, but history demands a decision. Then comes the biggest question of all. Are miracles even possible? Some people say no. Science explains everything. But think carefully. If God exists, miracles are possible. If God created the laws of nature, he can change them, just like an engineer can modify his own machine. But if God doesn't exist, then everything is just matter and energy. No meaning, no purpose, no love, no right or wrong, just chemistry. But we all know love is real. Justice is real. Good and evil are real. Those things can't be measured in a test tube. They're deeper, spiritual. And if something spiritual exists, there must be a spiritual source. So now the real question isn't, what about myths or what about dates? The real question is simple. Did Jesus really rise from the dead? Because if he didn't, Christianity collapses. But if he did, then everything changes. Life changes. Hope changes. Death changes. History changes. Imagine that morning, the tomb sealed, guards standing watch, darkness fading, sun rising. Then suddenly, the stone rolled away, not to let Jesus out, but to let the world look in. Empty. No body, just cloth. Silence. Shock. Confusion. Then appearances. One person, then another, then 10, then hundreds. Over 500 people all claiming the same thing. We saw him alive. Hallucinations don't happen to 500 people at once, but reality does. Days later, the student walks alone again. Same campus, same sky, but different heart. Because now he understands Jesus isn't just a good teacher, not just another Gandhi, not just another reformer. Because good teachers don't forgive sins. Good teachers don't predict their own death and resurrection. Good teachers don't split history into before and after. Only someone greater could do that. Maybe, just maybe, Jesus wasn't copied from myths. Maybe those myths were humanity searching, waiting, hoping for the real Savior to finally come. And when he came, he didn't come with armies, he didn't come with gold. He came in humility, born in a manger, serving the poor, healing the sick, loving the broken, dying for humanity.
and rising in victory. Not a symbol, not a legend, but alive. And maybe that's why 2,000 years later, his name still changes hearts, still gives hope, still brings peace. Because truth doesn't die. Truth survives. And maybe the light that began in a small tomb in Jerusalem is still shining today, waiting for anyone willing to search for it.